Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I've got Jester from It's Doomsday podcast. And today we're going to be talking about who is Jester, what is It's Doomsday podcast, and PrepStock 2023. So today we have Jester, and obviously he's from It's Doomsday podcast. He's got the giant thing behind him. This is the first time I've had him on the channel. Jester, tell us where we can find you and your podcast online.
Oh, you could find the podcast absolutely everywhere. I highly recommend Apple and iHeart and Spotify would be the places I would recommend to go listen. At It's Doomsday Podcast, pretty much on every platform if you want to reach out to us on social media. In the email, it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so a little bit of background. Jester and I met online just before Prepper Camp of 2022 last September, and we immediately fell in love.
Right.
XOXO. But seriously, we both think very much the same. Anyway, I linked up with him at Prepper Camp last year and ended up helping him out with his booth and even participating in a few of his podcasts, which was pretty fun. We've stayed connected, and now Jester is working on something pretty interesting, stuff that I'm kind of proud to be a part of. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So Jester, how did you get into preparing? I mean, what drove you to prepare?
So I'll start with this. Growing up where I grew up on a small horse ranch in Pennsylvania. And we kind of lived the off-grid lifestyle growing up. We had rain collection water. We had a well. We used wood fire heat for our home. And when we had power outages, we would cook over the wood fire, things like that. So what people are doing now in regards to prepping, I kind of grew up doing that, not knowing that it was prepping, just thinking that, we were a bunch of hillbillies that lived in the woods. Right.
Yeah.
And with this, I was in scouts over the years, so was always into the outdoors, always into camping, into survival stuff. It was just always really fascinating to me. And then as I got older, was probably in about 2012, I had someone come to me and start preaching to me about doomsday prepping, the end of the world, all these things, right?
Mhm.
And I took it serious, and I got into it, but I really didn't start taking it seriously until, I really got serious whenever I got into law enforcement and started seeing how much was going on behind closed doors within our county, how sick humanity was, and what people would be willing to do to each other, say over $40 in some drugs versus something life-threatening like, you don't have food to feed your children. What would humanity do to each other? And then it is escalated to the point where my wife is ready to kill me every other day because I'm bringing something home to the house that she says we don't need.
Well, I think every prepper has been through that at some point. At least you're past the point of her understanding why preparedness is necessary. For me, the my last wife, that's right, I've had a few of them. Um, she didn't really understand preparedness until the middle of the Obama years, and she saw the world starting to just like fall apart and wondering where, if she's going to be able to afford gas, if she's going to be able to, afford to feed the family, things like that. And that's when I started getting into prepping. But okay, well, I mean, that's pretty cool. So now the hard question.
Uh-oh.
How did It's Doomsday podcast start? What's its origin story?
Okay, that's actually a pretty easy story, right?
Okay.
So you don't really start out prepping without an influence, I guess. So a couple of my buddies, we would sit around and we would talk about, what would we do if shit really hit the fan? Like, where would we go? What would we do? And it became kind of obsessive to where this was the primary topic of conversation all the time.
Yeah.
And the response was, well, what would you do if you ran out of gas and shit hit the fan? I'd be like, well, dude, it's doomsday. I'm just going to go steal some more gas. Like, what else are you going to do? It's doomsday. And
Mhm.
then bam, the name was born. And then we're like, we're talking about this stuff all the time. Let's do a podcast. And it started out with 4 individuals, and
Okay.
the other 3 have just kind of fell off the radar. And then I was lucky enough to get Al in there, and I was lucky enough to get Jake in there and a few other people. from time to time. So yeah, it started out with 4 of us, and then 3 people kindly stepped away, and they left me here, and I'm still going.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like doing the podcast. I'm very passionate about it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I've told you before, but everybody needs to know. I actually share your podcast in my Patreon. You're one of 2 podcasts that I actually will share inside of it because I think it's actually worth listening to.
What's the other one? I want to know who my competition
It was
is.
some financial guy. I honestly
Some
can't remember his
financial guy.
name. I've listened to him. They're long podcasts. I try to schedule them on days where people like it's something for them to listen to at work.
Right.
You know, so you don't need to know those things. Those are super secret things. Okay.
I guess I have to subscribe to the Patreon.
Okay. All right. So that sounds like actually a pretty honest but weak story about your origin story. So
There was a lot of alcohol involved
uh,
for most of it, honestly.
that I believe.
Yeah, because we were living in Florida at the time, and it's go out and risk DUI or hang out at home with your friends on the weekends and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it was. And the conversation was always diverted back to what happens when shit hits the fan. It was such a prevalent topic all of the time. And it
Mhm.
just became this obsessive topic. And it's, I said to my friends, I was like, look, we could do a podcast. We have great ideas. We could be sharing this information and maybe help some people in the process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes that's it. It sounds like it started like a lot of these podcasts start. It's just with an idea and the concept of helping people.
Hmm.
And then it kind of grows into some things and it's normally a good thing. And then it's a matter of how like can you keep doing it because you do have to be passionate about it. Then dealing with the YouTube gods and podcast services that you find out are just literally ripping you off and ripping everybody else off and aren't even doing the right thing.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, to go back to the one thing you said, that the passionate side of this. So we got where we're at because we've never quit, right? There's a lot of people out there that start a podcast, though they might get through 3 episodes. They might get through 10. They don't see the numbers that they want right off the cut, and they get very discouraged, and then they
hmm
quit.
yeah.
And the people I originally started the show with, um, there was 4 of us all together. 2 of them were basically done after the first year. They were out. The one hung out with me and tried to keep this going maybe for another 6 months or so. But eventually it was too much of a headache. And we went through kind of a dry period there with very crappy topics and very little to talk about because it was me trying to do everything, not able to get guests on the show, not being able to get people on to talk about, the certain topics. I probably did freaking, I don't know, maybe like 15 episodes on the coronavirus just because it was relevant and we had to put something new out every week,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I gotcha. It makes sense. And sometimes as content developers, regardless of the platform, it is difficult to come up with subjects from time to time. So, okay. Well, I will accept that. You get a B minus for your origin story.
Hey, that works.
Okay, let's see here. I see the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was PrepStock 2023. And I don't think enough people know about this. Now, I've got a graphic that I'm going to throw up there, and we can just start there. So I guess based off of that, I don't know if you see that graphic?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
perfect, perfect. And this is live and it's raw, so you're going to hear us talk like this. So I guess the first thing, not enough people know about it. So, let's start with how it came about. What was your concept? What was the origin story for
All right.
Prep Stock?
The origin story for PrepStock is a little bit better than the origin story for its Doomsday podcast. This was born out of a drunken TikTok live one night.
Nice.
I went out to Saluda, North Carolina to prepper camp before it opened.
hmm
Okay. I went out there to scout the area, to test cell phone service, to check the camp out, to look at the lay of the land. I went out there just to scout it maybe, I don't know, 7 months before prepper camp happened. And I wish I could remember the name of the camp that it's at. But anyway, it's out in Saluda, North Carolina. The name of the campground escapes me. But when I went there, I wasn't the only person that went there. One of my followers, one of my friends, went out there too to meet me there, and we got to talking about how this might not be the best place to accommodate 2,000 people, right? And it seemed to me like it was going to be this overly crowded event. It seemed like parking was going to be bad. It just seemed like there was a lot of things that just didn't make sense, right? And I got to thinking to myself, I said, we could do something similar or better. We could figure out a better place to have something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not that we're trying to step on Rick Austin's toes, not that we're trying to step on Prepper Camp's toes, but when I kind of started getting an idea of what that was, I wanted something better. I wanted something more community involved. I wanted something that was more inclusive and not so you're just here as a patron buying a ticket type deal.
Yeah.
Something that people could actually be hands-on involved with. So in this live, I'm bitching, ranting, and moaning and complaining about this. And Safe Prep and Al were both in that live. Al actually came up with the name PrepStock as like, if we're going to do this, we need a cool, catchy name. He came up with the idea for the name PrepStock. Safe Prep and I sort of formed this together, and we're originally going to have this at Winrock Park in Tennessee last year and then had to move it to Camp Wesley Woods. So this was born out of a drunken rant of we could do better and everybody encouraging my shenanigans and nonsense. That's how that was born.
Gotcha. I think it's ironic because one of the things that we'll talk about, it's just kind of, it's serendipitous. But so now that we know how it came about, when is PrepStock going this year? And I mean, the slide's been up here, but let's go ahead and change this so that people can see it a little bit better. Oh, that's not it, right? That's not what I wanted. So it looks like it's going to be going Friday, October 6th through Monday, October 9th.
Right.
And why did you pick those dates?
Okay, so we wanted to do this in October primarily because the weather's good. It's good to be outdoors. There's less chance of precipitation. The weather's not overly hot. It's not overly cool. But it's just cool enough to where people could gather around a campfire at night and not be sweltering from the heat, right?
Gotcha.
And October 6th through the 9th falls on Columbus Day weekend, which is that one holiday everybody gets off that nobody makes plans for, right?
It's true.
So it kind of seemed like this would be the perfect weekend for that. Trying to do this over like Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July weekend, everybody's got plans. It's impossible. Nobody's going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
This seemed to be that magical weekend. And basically, I mean, it's very simple. Arrive on Friday, meet and greet, hang out, all that. Activities and things going on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you pack up and you get out of there.
Perfect.
Pretty easy.
Oh yeah, exactly. And for those of you watching, these are actually coming right off of the PrepStock website, so you guys can actually go back and link that. I also put that with a couple of the links inside the description when this video goes live. All right, so some things that people need to think about while they're there. Special things. It looks like no campers or RVs are permitted on the property. And if any of this stuff has changed, let me know. Alcohol is strictly prohibited. And that is not, from what I understand, that is not a Jester thing. That is not a PrepStock thing. That is a requirement of the camp.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you what, even if it wasn't a camp requirement, I mean, I want this to be an event that people are okay bringing their kids to, bringing young children to, and nobody wants to bring adolescents to a frat party. And that's
exactly.
and that's what I don't want this to become. And I caught a little bit of hell from people last year when we said we couldn't have alcohol. All I got to say is, for someone that really enjoys their alcohol, if I could go a weekend without drinking, so can you. And then
exactly.
Not only that, but you shouldn't need this to have a good time.
No,
You
it's
know,
true. It's
you know
actually
what I'm
it's absolutely
saying?
true.
So, and again, I like my booze and I'm going sober. So look at this as a benefit of being sober, enjoying your weekend, spending time with your kids, spending time with other people, furthering your skills and knowledge. You don't need alcohol.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds great. There's a note on here. This is shared bunkhouse sleeping, and I think that you'll be able to explain that a little bit more when we move on to pricing, what's up, top bunk, bottom bunk, that kind of thing, and what's actually going to be available. It looks like it's going to be in Camp Wesley Woods in
Mhm.
Townsend, Tennessee. I'll also put this address. Excuse me. I also put this address inside the description when this video does go live because we're pre-recording everything.
Right.
All right, let's see here. Okay, so the next thing on there is the actual, it looks like top bunk plus event, the price, the bottom, and so on and so forth. Could you explain some of this? Because some people that I've talked to, they're a little confused by it, but I figure, hey, let's get it out of the horse's mouth. That way intent is understood.
Right. Okay. So let's start with the bunks first. The top bunk versus bottom bunk, there's a $10 difference. The reason why we did that is because we're trying to encourage people to get the top bunks versus the bottom bunks. A lot of people that are coming out to the event are a little bit on the older side and maybe they're not in the greatest of shape. So they don't have the ability to actually climb into the top bunk. So we figured if we made them $10 cheaper, people would be more inclined to get those tickets. Unfortunately, I come to find that people would rather spend $10 and have the comfort because we are like only selling bottom bunk tickets. Uh, so, but the bottom bunk plus event ticket, that includes your stay there for 3 nights plus the event that gets you in and gets you your stay for the whole weekend and everything that's going on. Right.
Gotcha.
And also this does come with some giveaways. We're actually giving away a fire pit this year. Anybody that bought a ticket is automatically entered to win. They have to be there at the event to claim the prize. We are not going to mail this out. The 3-day entry with no lodging. Let's talk about that. That's a $50 ticket. And the reason we did this is because we knew people wanted to come to the event and not necessarily stay in the lodging or do the camping like they might want to come and get a hotel, this, that, the other. So what we did was we did the $50 3-day entry ticket with no lodging. This gets you in on Friday night for the meet and greet and, get to hang out around the campfire and be there Saturday and Sunday for the actual event. This does not include Monday because there's nothing going on Monday except people packing up, saying their final goodbyes and leaving. The tent campsite ticket that's in there runs $125. That's 3 nights for the campsite for the weekend. And you could sleep. I think we're allowing people to sleep up to 5 people in a tent campsite. It's basically per family, right? So if you're coming out and you're getting the tent campsite, you can go ahead, get the tent campsite for you and all the members of your family. And you do have to get your 3-day entry ticket along with the campsite, right? So it only seems to make sense for families of 4 or 5 people that are coming out. They pay the 125, then they pay the $50 per person entry fee, right?
Gotcha.
So that's going. And there is, I mean, you get all access to this. Like the people that get the tent campsites, they're not banned from access to the lodge. They still have access to the facilities inside the lodge. That's totally okay. It's just they don't get to sleep there because they don't pay for a bunk there.
Gotcha.
So I'm hoping that sums up kind of how the tickets are going. We may, when later on, we may add a daily entry ticket. Like if somebody's only like, hey, I could just come for that Saturday or that Sunday, we might add a daily entry ticket, but we're not totally sure yet.
Okay. I'm writing that down. Daily entry ticket. Okay, cool. Oh, well, I appreciate you explaining that because there were a lot of questions about it. They were a little, it's like, does it cost this versus that, and then, the reality is it comes down, I've talked to a few people and they're of the mindset, if they do come and camp, hey, listen, you're talking about a campsite and full access to all the facilities, and, that's actually about the same as if you went camping anywhere else for the weekend for 3 days. So it's not this exorbitant price, that some people may think, but it's just not. It's in the end, it all comes out in the wash. At the end of the holiday, if you look in your wallet, the same amount of money, possibly even less, is going to be missing. You
So
know,
I'm gonna tell you what. I've had the debate of, the financial debate with people a lot. And I got to say this. So again, separating the top bunk and the bottom bunk tickets, one of the main reasons we did that is because, like I said, people couldn't get into the top bunks. We have an even number of bunk beds, top and bottom. Okay. If we have a bunch of people that show up that say, hey, I paid for a bunk and I can't get into a top bunk, I'm physically incapable of doing that.
hmm
I'm going to feel pretty crappy about it at the end of the day, and they're going to feel pretty crappy about it.
yeah,
But if they buy it, if they pay for it, if it's on their ticket, I can move someone and say, hey, look, no, 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 no. They paid for this. Now, if we have open bunks and you're like, I really don't feel like climbing up there, by all means, take an open one.
yeah, exactly. Once the ship starts to move, there's nobody else to put in the bunk.
Right. And then the other thing I was trying to explain to people too. So if you're getting, say, the top bunk ticket, it's $75 for the weekend with, with your stay, with the event. You can't go out and get a hotel room that cheap for 3 nights, and you can't get into an event with that kind of price too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So these are priced extremely cheap. And I have had people give me crap about the price, saying that's too much. Well, I got news for a lot of people out there. Just your ticket, your single ticket for prepper camp for example, is $50, right?
hmm yep,
Plus you got to figure out all your own lodging. And I want to say the campground there was like $15 a night,
yeah,
somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you went for, 3 nights there plus got your event ticket, you're going to be at more money than this anyway. And
yeah.
you're not having to sleep in the dirt here.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I like, that's where we met, but it was basically about $200 out of my pocket to go to prepper camp. And that was just to get my campsite and pay for uh myself to be there. It's like $200. So it's comparable. All right. I think it just people just needed to understand. I think that was you did a great job explaining that. So let's go ahead and move on here real quick. Unless you got something to add.
The only thing I do want to add in there about these prices for these tickets, not the entry ticket, not the tent campsite tickets, but the top and bottom bunk tickets. There's a limited number available. Once these sell out, the limited number, they will increase in price. So get what's left now before they go up. If you're thinking about coming to the event, get your ticket because they are going to go up in price.
Gotcha. And that just makes sense. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. What's the next one? Okay, so we talked about it before. It's going to go at Camp Wesley Woods.
Mhm.
They're in Tennessee. I don't think that really needs a lot of explanation. And then I got a couple of websites here that the viewers can use. I'll also put these websites down in the description as well. And it looks the way I got it was basically the exploretownsend.com event PrepStock that basically gave over the information like we just put here in this video. And then to buy the tickets, you go to prepstock.ticketleap.com to buy the tickets.
Right. And, it's really interesting. I submitted an email probably 6 months ago to Explore Townsend saying, hey, can you put us on the website for your events? And they asked me a couple of questions and then never got back to me. I didn't even know we were there until yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know we were there.
Good thing someone told you.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
I've been using that website since like I don't know months now. Every time I want to refer somebody to PrepStock, I send them to that website.
and the crazy thing is, I don't think there's a way to get to the ticket website from the Explore Townsend
No,
website.
there's not.
And
There's
I'm
not.
wondering, and I got to call the camp because I'm wondering how many calls the camp is getting. Say, hey, I'm trying to find out information. Where do I get it?
Yeah,
Because they're not calling me if they're getting those phone calls.
yeah. That's kind of a shame. That is kind of a shame. All right, let's see here. So we did the whole how the people find PrepStock 2023 online. Okay, let's see. I think that's really going to be about it, unless there's something else you want to add.
I did want to go through some of the events that we have going on there now.
Okay. The
All right.
schedule.
The schedule. So
I
what I
like
want to do explain to people, because I mean, I guess I didn't do a good job of explaining this. So a lot of people are seeing a two-part schedule here, and it's not that one is Saturday and one is Sunday. These are alternating schedules. Okay. So what this is designed to do, it's kind of designed to stagger things a little bit. So we can do it one way Sunday, or I'm sorry, do it one way Saturday and then switch it Sunday so instructors can catch something they missed that they may want to see. That is the goal of doing this schedule. So as of right now, what we have on there is we have a communications course, we have herbal remedies, we have beekeeping, ammunition reloading, apothecary, self-defense, hands-on communications, pressure canning, doomsday mentality, apocalypse leadership with your boy right here, local prepper, and then bug out bags, again with LP, and then jerky perfection with Clarky. I still have 4 open slots that we are trying to fill, and I will update the schedule and get those posted as those slots get filled. I do want to put a disclosure out there for anybody that's going. Guys, life happens. If you buy a ticket because you're solely interested in, say, beekeeping, and then the beekeeping guy doesn't show up, that is something that can happen. So do be mindful that this could change based on anything, an accident, someone gets sick, someone has a family issue. This could change. Life happens. And I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to hold anybody to the fire if for some reason they can't come, because life does happen.
Yeah, and I'll caveat on that, and that's completely acceptable. That's actually industry standard. They actually had 2 instructors that didn't show up to prepper camp last year. And these were people that paid for everything. I think one was they paid for everything. They had booths set up, area. I mean, they had everything, and they didn't show up. And that was explained that life happens. That's just the way it works. Okay, well, I mean, with that said, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we wanted to cover. And I hope you had a good time, and you definitely have an open invitation onto this show anytime, Jester. Once again, tell the viewers where they can find you, that way you cannot run and hide from them.
So first off, I love listener emails. It's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. I love hearing from you guys. Again, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, just add It's Doomsday Podcast on all those platforms. And we've actually been hitting the top 100 for news commentary on Apple Podcast around the world. We've been hitting it in Australia, and I think Germany a couple times, just different countries around the world. We've been hitting that top 100 chart. So listening on Apple helps keep us up there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Everybody use the Apple.
Use the Apple, as I am someone that doesn't like any eye products.
Gotcha. There you go. All right. Absolutely perfect. Okay, Jester, thanks again. And that's going to end the video. As usual, guys, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you know that when my videos drop, you will be notified if YouTube decides to let you. As usual, stay safe, have a great day, and I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye. See here. All right, so we're recording right now, so I guess we'll get into character. Get that one last loud fart out. All right, now let's film a blooper reel.
Oh, there's a blooper reel now?
People love my blooper reels, man. Be careful what you say. I already got a couple.
Did I tell you I started drinking more water?
Yes, more water. Water is good for us unless it's not water.
If you're a complete idiot, this one has a thing on it to remind you what time to drink water.
What?
Yeah, look at that. It's got your time frames on there. Right now it's PM. Remember your goal, 1 p.m. and I don't even know what time it is.